morning, everyone. My name is Sandro Tejada. I'm the director of the Parents Program. You probably already know me by the thousands of emails I've sent you and calls.
I'm off to start training, but
first I want to thank you all for
see you later.
this breakfast. This is part of our series called the Dean's Breakfast Series with all our respective deans from different schools and colleges, and this is the fourth one, and we're excited that Dean Bartoli will be here to share his vision for the school. And we also have countless parents that are calling in from all over the United States, so you'll be hearing some beeps here, but we're excited about them also having access to this wonderful talk. I just want to let you know that this school is for you as well. This is your home, and you've entrusted us with your most precious commodities, your sons and daughters, but we really want you to feel like this is your university as well. And so, excuse me, the Parents Program is an opportunity for you to be engaged. We're always looking for feedback from parents, because you're listening to your students and learning more about their experience while they've been here. And so the feedback that you could share with us is something that we could share with our administration to enhance their experience. And so we're looking for parents to do that. Also volunteer your time. There's opportunities to help us out with admissions. We had about 22 parents from across the United States this semester help with what's called a yield event. So these are recruitment events that they hosted at their homes for admitted students, as far as Hawaii. We had 4 in California, and Texas, and Chicago, Washington. So these were current parents that opened their homes to kind of convince these students and their parents that Seton Hall is the place for them. And so we were very excited about that. So you have an opportunity to do that as well here in New Jersey. Because I think you have the information that parents really want to hear about and say, is this a place that I can send my child to? And there's no better source than the parent that can tell them that. There's also an opportunity for you to join what's called our Parents Leadership Council, which is parents that are true ambassadors for the university. And again, they are kind of our leaders who represent the parent community, who really work with the president and our deans, again, to get feedback. And we have 2 meetings usually during the course of the year. So if you're interested in joining our Leadership Council, there's some literature on the table, and feel free to give me a call and I can sit down with you to share some more information. I also just want to give you an opportunity to join us for what we're calling our Parents Recognition Brunch on May 2nd, Saturday, May 2nd. Dr. Esteban and his wonderful wife, Josephine, will be there to say thank you to our parents, and also an opportunity for your students to come and join you, and for them to say thank you to you as well for all that you've done to get them to this point. So I hope that you will be able to join us, and there's no cost. We just want you to be there, and again, there'll be some good food, some great speakers, just another opportunity for you to be engaged. So again, thank you for coming. I'll introduce Dean Bartoli. Thank you, Dean Bartoli, and I'll let you continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Delighted to be here. Nice to have a few on the call. I'm tempted to speak with them one by one, but if there are too many, maybe one thing that we could do, we could try if you could say the state where you are coming, where you are listening from. Anyone wants to volunteer?
Sure, this is Angela Ray, Georgia.
Georgia, Chicago, Arizona,
New York,
Florida, New York, Texas, Michigan, Oregon. Very nice. We are Pennsylvania. Fantastic. As you can imagine, all here are smiling and smiling. You know, every state joining in. You know, it's a sort of coming together. You know, it's truly a wonderful, wonderful feast to have parents gathered together. And it's great for us here at the School of Diplomacy. There is an interesting process for me, and I need to be honest that I like this meeting with parents. I did it last year for the first time. It was the first time for me because I was the dean just for a few months, but also first time for the university. The university didn't have this program before. And I actually need to honor and And I think that it's good to
Has joined the conference.
and it's good to recognize that Sandro is very violently, launched last year, doing it this year, continuing, because I really feel that it's a wonderful expression of this encounter at Seton Hall of old things and new things. And that really worked for me a lot. I'm an immigrant. My accent revealed that I come from Italy. I'm not Irish. I'm not German. I'm not Filipino. I'm just Italian. And I like to speak with my hands, as much as my words. And so those who are on the phone will have half of the show. But the point is that the School of Diplomacy is part of Seton Hall. And Seton Hall is part of a longer tradition. I teach this year a course called Catholic Peacemaking. It's a course that I developed when I was at Columbia University, and I couldn't teach at Columbia University because it was a little bit too denominational, too specific. So I'm a good friend with Jack DeGioia, the president of Georgetown, and I asked him at that time to teach the course there. And every week I would go down to Georgetown to teach this course. And one of the reasons for this course is that there are 4 great popes. I don't know how familiar you are with the Catholic nomenclature, but popes are not defined great by any process. You have a process to become a priest, a bishop, a cardinal, a pope, but you don't have a process to become great. Great is just something that people recognize and almost spontaneously do. Well, the 4 great popes we have, the ones that are officially recognized as great, Leo, Gregory, Nicholas, and now John Paul II, that very soon, immediately after he died, people started calling him John Paul the Great. It's very interesting that all of them are connected to peace. All of them were able to speak with leaders that were violently threatening not just the church, but people's safety, people's property, people's well-being. The first one, Leo, had this famous encounter with Attila, the king of the Huns, and he just went out and spoke with him. And Attila changed his mind and relinquished the territories conquered and becomes part of a process in which the church is helping the conquerors to become quote-unquote civilized, to learn how to govern. Interesting. The same with Gregory, the same with Nicholas, the same in many ways you can argue with John Paul II, that oversaw an extraordinary change. When I was young, when I was studying, we were in the middle of the Cold War. When I visited Poland, it was a very different Poland. The world in which we live today is a world that has a need for further order, and yet many people believe that the order that needs to come is an order for me only, or at least for me first. The Catholic Church is used to say a good order, the real order, is for everybody. Everybody needs to be in. Everybody needs to be respected. It's the good of all, the good of everyone. Americans learned that the hard way, and Catholics in America learned that the hard way. As you may know, Seton Hall actually was born because Catholic couldn't go into Princeton. Princeton was for the wealthy one, for the rich one, for the one that were already established. The Catholic were new and couldn't afford, but not recognized. And so Seton Hall was born out of a desire to offer an education to communities that didn't have that access before. Well, the School of Diplomacy is in a way a new expression of that old dream. It is an expression of a boldness that comes when you realize that if you have your life, your time, your energy, you are better off thinking for the good of all, for the good of the country, not just for your own, for the strict premises of your things. And I think that when we engage with the students, we realize that there is something in the school that we can offer to one another that not many are exploring. And that has to do with integration, putting together the pieces. I'm delighted to see two parents of my own students. I decided to teach as a dean. I don't need to teach. I'm shielded from that duty. I'm a professor. But I don't need to teach. But I like to teach very much. I like the students very much. I like to listen to them. I like to learn with them. I like to learn through them. And I realize that the school that is coming, the school that is emerging, it is a school in which the students are clearly taking the lead with us, not alone, not abandoned, but certainly moving the horizon of their responsibility to include larger and larger communities, larger and larger groups. If you're interested in diplomacy, you learn soon that you are not representing only you. You are representing someone else. You are representing a state. You are representing a corporation. You are representing an association. You are representing an ethnic group. You represent an international organization. You represent a community of people. And that step, that passage of understanding how this representation happens, how this representation comes together, it's a very important skill. It has to do with the capacity to speak, but before that, it has to do with the capacity to listen. It has to do with the capacity of making sense of what is coming. So, when I look at the world, I look at a world that is not exactly at peace. My specialty is conflict resolution. My focus is genocide prevention. I deal with tough questions. And I'm used to see the world as bloody and difficult and violent as it is. But I cannot stop reading that as a desire of us as human family to actually live in peace, to actually find peace, to find the way in which peace can emerge, can come. And I know that this emergence happens through integration, when we are able to put the pieces together. So in our little world of the School of Diplomacy, this is what we tried to do since last year. We started putting research, teaching, and administration together. We started working diligently on the idea that the school can be better if you put the pieces together more, better, more intentionally. And so what we started doing was to imagine and implement a leadership integration. So we put together the faculty, we put together the administration, and this year we are putting in the students. Every Friday, I had a meeting with Dean Smith, Senior Associate Dean Smith, and the other member of the administration that could come in this very room, with the students who wanted to come. Many of your children were actually attending. And these were phenomenal moments in which we were sharing the school as the school was happening. We were addressing school problems as the school were emerging. We were speaking about how to teach and learn better within the school, how to organize the flow of information within the school, how to give feedback, how to evaluate things as we are doing them, and so on. And this is very good because it has nothing to do with grade, has nothing to do with me giving an A or a B or a C to anybody. It's just learning to be responsible for something bigger than yourself. You are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and you receive an invitation that says the School of Diplomacy is yours as much as mine. The School of Diplomacy can change and be better if you and I connect together. And if you and I work together with the faculty, with the others, the School of Diplomacy can leap forward in ways that very few other institutions can. So why is that? Well, one is size. Size, very important idea. I really appreciate having all these parents speaking from all over the United States, because the United States is a little big. It's definitely bigger than Italy and bigger than many other countries. But it's nice to see the room where we are, the School of Diplomacy, diplomacy room, because size allows us to do things that bigger university, state university with a lot of people, cannot do. We can speak with our students in a way that I cannot see any other APSIA dean ever doing the way I do. Because I can be accessible to the students in a way that is very difficult to do when you have 1,000 students, 2,000 students, 3,000 students. But what is true for me is true for the faculty. What is true for the faculty is true for the administrator. I never saw anywhere, I work in 3 places, Columbia, Mason, and now Seton Hall. I never saw anywhere the systematic advising that happened here. And I'm really taking no credit for this because it preceded me big time. And he's more, Dean Smith and Dean San Gimino's work. But the availability of advising services here is just exceptional. It's just in the way the school functions, it's the way the school is organized. So integration for us is something that comes through size, but interestingly enough, there is a boldness to integration. There is the idea that a relatively new school, we are less than 20 years old, but we can engage with human system of the magnitude of the UN meaningfully. We can engage with the UN, we can engage with the embassies, we can engage with states, we can engage with corporations, we can engage with people around us in a bold way. We can be bold. So on one hand, you have an element that is relatively small size. We are small enough to be almost familiar, but on the other, we are bold enough to be relevant. And I find the combination of the two very appealing, very, very appealing. Because we can do, in many ways, some sort of experimentation around integration. How the school can move, how the school can organize. One episode, for example, is about course evaluations. There is a formal evaluation that is done by the university. There is another more informal evaluation that I did with some students, and the students were very happy because there was a greater participation in the middle of the semester. We are now inviting other faculty to join in that process. The curriculum, the undergraduate this year have a different curriculum that was the result of students suggesting that 10 years ago. And then the administration and the faculty worked through the process, and then that was achieved last year when I arrived. Student participation has been part of the ethos of this place for a long time, and I see that ethos teaching the students you can always improve. You can improve personally, but you can also improve the school and the university in which you are. So I want to issue an invitation to those who are on the phone and to those who are here in person to come on Friday, the last Friday of January 2016. I like to think 3 years ahead. So I am already booking myself, 3 years from now. But I convinced at the school that they could also come with me and be a little bit further, in the calendar. And think about the last Friday of January for the first open space of the School of Diplomacy. I don't know how familiar you are with open space. If anybody is in organizational development, you may know what open space is. I'm more than happy to explain more in detail in the question and answer period if you want. But fundamentally, it's a moment in which large group can come together to organize priorities and set collective action around issues that are important to them, that they want to take responsibility for. And this is the climax of a process that started last year with a joint retreat of faculty and administration that was followed this year by a facilitated joint retreat, and that opened up, as I said, to students through these leadership meetings that we had on Friday. So this is a long-term project of saying, well, what happened when you get into a school is that you are, in a way, betting that the school will be better and better. It's a little bit like wine. You really hope that it will go better with the age. The more you age, the more the taste, you can see that I'm Italian. It's definitely, my reference point is not beer or milk or other things. But the point being that when your children will be alumni, the value of their degree, the value of their investment will actually be connected not just to their own performance, but also to the performance of the school. The more the school becomes relevant, the more the school becomes significant, the more we are able to succeed, the more the value of that investment will grow. And we feel that in this sense, an old-fashioned, almost traditional Catholic investment makes an awful lot of sense to us because we are not, we don't shy away from life commitments. We believe that the university has been around for some time and is committed to its own alumni for quite some time. And when we think, we're thinking long term. And so I think it's important for us to have the open space, not just with the faculty and the administrator, not just with the faculty, the administrator, and the students who are now here, but also with the alumni and the parents. So if you want to come, enjoy. It will be a free event. We will be all together, and we will continue to think the school together. But this is important to me as the dean because, as I mentioned at the beginning, I really feel that the strength of the school is its capacity to rediscover and innovate. So this is what we are doing all the time. On one hand, we are rediscovering old roots, good values, things that have been around before us. And on the other, we are innovating. We are making things better. We are experimenting new things. So nobody ever did an open space before in a university setting. Nobody did what we are doing. That's very good. But at the same time, we are very proud of what we have been doing from the moment we started connecting with the UN, having the UN program, having this strong curriculum with strong faculty. We are clearly, how can I say it, growing the tree. We have deep roots and go up, and the more we go down in the roots, the more the tree will grow. So these two processes go together. It's a very, very clear process for us. We started having centers, very early on. We had one on global health that is re-engaging now big time. But we started 3 new centers last year. One on UN and global governance, one on new trends, and the third one on peace and conflict. And all of them have a very interesting research and student component. All these centers have fellows, junior fellows that are students that are connected to the centers because their interest is aligned with them. We also have new research projects. Some of your children are working with me directly and with other faculty on project, working from the Basque Country to genocide prevention. And I think that is interesting to see the process moving of integration, as I mentioned before, blending together more the faculty side and the student side, the administration side and the teaching and learning element of the school. I think it's very good for the students to be exposed to cutting-edge research, but I think it's also good for the professor to work with bright students that are able to do things that they would not have the time to do or not the speed to do in the same way. We also have new visitors, and visitors to me was one of the best chapter, if you want, of this year and a half at Seton Hall. Because Seton Hall is clearly becoming a place where people are happy to come. Yesterday we received together with Yusuf Mahmoud, the Mello chair that has been the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, special envoy in different places. Also the mediation unit director, Robert Dunn. And he was commenting how Seton Hall is a perfect distance from the UN. You know, it's just half an hour, 40 minutes drive. It's an easy drive if you drive carefully on traffic. Clearly, if you find the wrong traffic, then you're really lost. But if you drive as he did yesterday, 11 a.m. from New York to New Jersey, it was an easy drive. It was a beautiful drive, and there was enough distance for them to look at what they were doing at the UN in an academic environment that is not in haste. We are not in a rush. We don't need to move, with the same pace as if you were in the city 24/7. And he was suggesting, exploring with me the possibility of using that distance for others who are in the UN system, especially mediators around the world. And I found that expression of interest very telling, because that's exactly what we would like to suggest. This is what we would like to offer, to see the School of Diplomacy as a place in which it's good to be, where it's good to go. Similarly, we welcome a few days before the ambassador plenipotentiary of Brazil, the permanent representative of Brazil to the UN, Antonio Patriota, who was the president of the Peace Building Commission for some times, and he was very happy again for the same impression of having an engagement with faculty, students, and administrators in a setting that is not as pressure as the UN corporate world. And as you know, we will have Susan Rice coming at the end of April. She's the highest US officer coming to campus after President Reagan. And we like this openness of Seton Hall to visitors, because I believe that it's important for us to stay engaged as the world happens, as we see things happening. So my concluding remarks are happy one. I heard more than once rumors spread around campus that I'm a lucky dean. And I like to say that I'm a lucky dean because of the students and because of the faculty, the administrator, because of you. So I'm happy to welcome the characterization of a happy dean, of a lucky dean, happy lucky dean, happy lucky dean. But I definitely need to report, upward trends. Our numbers are up, the climate is good, and I definitely think that this connection with the UN is very important. But in closing, I really would like to stress again this idea of old roots, rediscovering things and new things, and that has to do with the internship and professional services. Internship has been part of the school from the very beginning. It was a requirement, it's part of the curriculum, it's really part of an old tradition. It has been here for a long time. Resources were devoted to it, and we are very proud of our internship program. But to the internship program we added last year, for this year, we had the position approved last year, we hired, in August, a person that is the director of professional services. And the idea there is to accompany not only students, but also alumni in their professional trajectory. And we felt that that was an important move because there are obviously things that career services from the university can do. But we realized that a lot of people go through transitions. Sometimes they need to move from one place to another. They need to leap. They need to explore new ideas. And to offer the school as a place where this transition can be accompanied, can be thought out, we felt that was a good idea. So we are happy to confirm something that has been around for some times. We are happy to innovate. we're happy to engage with you. I'm open to question and answer. And I'm delighted that you are, joining us in this effort to make a great school for the good of all. Thank you. Those on the phone can tap on the phone. Here we are. We are happy to get questions from the phone or from the audience, or any comments, anything you want to say from anywhere.
So the Director of Professional Services is located within the campus, and
Yeah.
a particular person, or?
Yeah. So there is a question here. I'm repeating it so that everybody can hear it. That was asking clarification about the Director of Professional Services, if this is an actual person or just an office, and if this person is here on campus. Yes, his name is Kyle Hanger, and he's here in the premises. He's here at the School of Diplomacy. He works regular hours, but very often also beyond hours, because he started with Dean San Gimino a new program asking alumni to come to do professional services seminars, so that you have, and it's usually combined with recruitment events. We have very frequently people coming from all over the world to visit the school, and we have Saturdays that are offered in which you have small programs in which we offer an explanation of what the school is and so on. After that, there is we did 4 or 5 of these seminars in which alumni are presenting what they're doing and their professional advice on how to move. But yes, if you want your son to speak with him, please. Kyle. His name is Kyle.
Any questions from the phone? Anyone calling from?
So we can have, as I said, a question from the phone, and next year we are going to have text. We are going to have text, as people speak, and we will have questions on anything from Oregon.
Yes, from Oregon. Why not? Are there any kind of mentorship opportunities for students to build one-on-one relationships with faculty?
Very good. Yes, there are. Some of them are part of a regular curriculum structure through independent studies. The student can always apply for an independent studies. The faculty will be paid a little stipend to follow the students on their work. There are also mentorship structures that are connected to research projects. So I mentioned before one on the Basque Country, one on genocide prevention. There was another one on love and forgiveness and governance that was concluded last semester. And there are also, how can I put it, emergent clusters. So this will not be mentored one by one from a professor and a student, but rather peer groups or integrated clusters where faculty will interact with students, and this is the advantage of having undergraduate and graduate students in the same school, where people interested in peace and conflict, people interested in international economics, people interested in international law, can come together and form bonds and projects. So there are 3 different levels, but the simplest one is clearly independent studies, and the more committed one is a research project. Anyone from Texas? The New Jersey crowd is smiling and thinking and chatting and doing. Please.
Would you talk about the open space project?
Very good. So the person, Christine here in New Jersey, was asking more about open space process, and I'm delighted to speak. Open space is a technology to run large groups. but works also with relatively small group. You can do an open space with 15, 20 people. If you Google open space technology, you will find a world about it. And it's a relatively recent development in organizational thinking and design that allows organization to move the emphasis from established patterns to emerging patterns. So the problem that you have anywhere, but certainly in an institution like the School of Diplomacy, is that you have a lot of things that are routines, things are done in a certain way. And this may be very good. There is something very good about doing the same things and repeating the same thing. But it's always good to ask, is this the only way that we can do it, or is this the only things that we need to do? Could it be that we need to do something more, something different? So there were things that were not done before, and this is particularly important in a moment in which higher education is clearly changing. If you are interested, we are not in mathematics, but okay. But I'm giving you the example just to give you how disruptive or different the world is today. If I'm interested in mathematics, if I want to do a course on linear algebra, okay, I can pay Seton Hall and do my course here, or I can go for free, log into MIT, and do the whole course for free because it is already online for free. So the content side of things is strangely already available to students. What is not available is the organizational experience of being part of groups that are changing together. And this is very difficult to replicate if you are on your computer by yourself just looking for content. This is why we believe that in a way, being present here, being present on campus, being present with others is so important, because you learn not just to learn, but you learn to learn together. You learn to learn for a purpose. You learn to learn professionally. You learn to be somebody. And to be somebody is not just to know how linear algebra works, but it's also how you're using linear algebra and why you're using linear algebra and so on and so forth. So in this sense, open space is a moment in which large group can identify what is really relevant to them, something that needs to be addressed. I suggested, for example, to have a conversation on student debt. Student debt is a typical problem that as a dean I can easily forget. It's not my business. It's somebody else's problem. It's the problem of the university, it's the problem of the parents, it's the problem of the student himself. But I feel that actually it's very good for me if I'm able to engage in a meaningful conversation with the student themselves and the parents and the university on student debt, because in the end, it's going to be a collective response. It's not just how am I going to survive this particular crunching time. So how do we have the conversation? Even to start a conversation like that would be very complicated. So open space allows a division of the work in such a way that those who are interested in that particular topic can start the conversation and then set the parameters for that to continue after the actual open space. I'm happy to engage more. It is also an experience, so I think it's fun for those who never did an open space. I strongly encourage you to come. I think that, and if you are remotely interested, as I said, Google open space and you will find a world of it. It's just the interesting things is that open space as a concept came to an American organizational development expert that realized that most of the meaningful conversation on conferences were actually happening in the hallway during the break, not when the conference was happening, because the conference was so boring, everybody speaking like I'm doing today, and the most things were happening actually in the hallway. And so he said, okay, well, let's do the hallway conference. This is how it started. So very good. Anyone from Michigan?
Sure.
Sure. As the parent of a graduating senior, I'm really glad to hear that you're looking at ways to welcome them back when they're alumni and get them involved. But looking at the near future, what kind of services do you have to help my daughter find her first job in diplomacy?
So the school has 2 officers working on this, and the university has career services. Are the same services that are open to all. The director of professional services definitely works with students one by one, helping them to position themselves to what they want to do. So diplomacy is an interesting area in itself, in a sense that in the more narrow sense, assuming that your daughter is an American, then the way in which she can have a career at the State Department or with the government is to pass the exam and start a career there. And we are happy to help. We started last year inviting every year senior diplomats participating of the Association of American Diplomats to expose the students to the in and out of the exam and what the process is. Gutierrez this year and Silverstein last year. But it's clearly a very specific investment. Many argue that if you are working on trade or if you are working on justice, you will have a lot to do with diplomacy anyway, because the internationalization of these sectors imposes, some form of diplomacy. And we are happy to help students that have a particular interest, saying trade or justice or whatever, to focus on their sector. We are developing a new system for us. It has been around for quite some time, but new for us, called College Central, where we put together all the alumni, all the internship that we ever had from the beginning of the school, and all the contact that we have. So if your daughter is interested in working in Italy, then my contact come into the database and help her to maximize the chances of having the interviews, of having positions and so on. In the same place on College Central, all the openings that we become aware of will be posted only to the community of those who are within the School of Diplomacy. So it will be a sort of an internal sharing of information. And if this is not enough, we are clearly available. Kyle Hungary is available for any one-to-one connection. I do realize that the economy is getting better, and the upswing hopefully will come soon. But certainly, jobs are not abundant, and they're not so available as we would like them to be. And this is why we believe that it's important to focus in this area and to offer as much services as we can from our side.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We have a lot of smiling faces here. I don't know if they are smiling to what I'm saying or the hands that are speaking. It's an interesting.
I have a question from Texas.
Texas, fantastic. I was in Texas in San Antonio.
That's exactly where we are. We could have had tacos.
Oh, very good. You see, next time when I come, I'll give you a call.
Okay, absolutely. We'll show you around town all the greatest taco dives. My question is in relationship to the open space that you were talking about in study abroad. Will there be an opportunity at some point where that open space will be used with the study abroad students so that way they can bring their experiences back to Seton Hall?
I think that's a great idea. I don't know if if open space will be the venue. I think that people studying abroad are clearly an asset for us. One of the great traditions of the school has been not only to facilitate study abroad, but also to support study abroad. As much as we could, we had scholarship, and it's one of the priorities that I have. One of the marching order that I got from faculty and administrator in terms of fundraising priorities. So how the experience of the students going abroad will then be shared and benefits the community is a very interesting process in itself. One of the things that we decided to do this year that was not done in the past was to have small interviews with students so that we could do a little video and then share them with others. We also have the proposal, but was never actualized. Students tend to be hyper committed. They are really super committed. So I think sometimes good ideas don't necessarily happen. But there was a suggestion at one of these Friday leadership meetings to have school of diplomacy cafe. Moments in which you could have an hour, 2 hours in which you have slightly informal exchanges in which people coming back from abroad could say, oh, I went to Argentina, I'm coming back from Kazakhstan, I visited China, this is my experience in Rome, and this is what we learned and what we did, and so on. I think that all this is possible. I tend to be respectful of people's time and energy. I think that I do see hyper commitment as a danger rather than something that we should encourage. And so sometimes to just have a walk is a good thing. And so, but this is my answer. So open space may very well be the open space just allows everybody to take responsibility for one thing. So if anybody, last Friday of January, decide that they want to speak about this particular issue, there will be a possibility, and then somebody will follow. But there are other ways too.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Don't forget the tacos.
Oh, never.
Very good. Shall we wrap it up? Shall we, Sandro? What do you think?
I think so. If anyone else has any other questions, I think. Yeah.
So we'll say goodbye to all our friends around the country. I'm always available. My email is Andrea, Andrea, .Bartoli, Bartoli, @shu.edu. If you need anything, let me know. Or through Sandro. But we are delighted that we are connected. With those who are here in New Jersey, obviously we'll continue in a more informal way, in an informal setting. And thank you very much. All the best.